money's a bloody scary thing, right? And it's the best and it's the worst. And no matter what, you never got too much, or right? Because even when you do, you got bigger problems, everything else. So it's a bloody scary thing. So what brought me across to Finspo from my own business is that idea of trying to help as many people as possible with this, in this field I understand, in this field I'm an expert in, be the best version of themselves. So I did do a lot of work when I was in my old company, Credo, around the financial wellness things. Used to have a lot of big partnerships with corporates, and we have some with Finspo too, to go in there and speak to these people because, you're a nurse, right? You work crazy hours and you're trying to make ends meet. You make okay money, sure, but you got this over here, and you might think about this stuff, or you might hear about it on the radio, but you don't know what to do. And what's really scary is wondering about maybe I could do better. So that builds stress, and you got mental health that comes into it, right? And then who do I even go and see? Well, I'm not going to walk into the Commonwealth branch down the road and then wait for 3 hours and the guy tells me we can't help you.
Yeah,
or maybe he can help me, but I don't actually know what that means because he says he changed my rate.
I think a really important thing when building businesses to assist people with banking is that, and banking is great, of course, but banks are a good, easy kind of for normal consumers enemy. It's a faceless industry. The bank's scary. And actually had I was having breakfast with John Simons a couple of weeks ago. Obviously the founder of Aussie Home Loans, and I was talking to him, and we were talking about his story, and he was sharing with me kind of what he did. And he said one thing that was brilliant, and that he was the first to do, was he brought a friendly face to a faceless industry.
Yeah. So roughly 60% of mortgages are written through brokers at the moment. I really don't understand why anyone wouldn't use a mortgage broker. Why on earth, in what other thing do you do in your life, would you walk into one place that set you up as a kid and ask them, how much money can I borrow, and take their word as gospel and not get advice from someone who you don't pay and is only incentivized to do right by you, because if they don't, in 2 years' time, if you leave, they'll have to pay that money back. It blows my mind that it's not at 100%. And what John created was remove some of that barrier. Now, there's always going to be some trepidation.
He also brought down the interest rates.
About everything.
The
competition.
He changed the entire market.
Yeah. And then you look at what that then created from the other lenders trying to enter the market. But all of that came from that. You're right. It's a big, scary thing. And so I have a similar mindset of how do we help these people be in the best position to not have to die wandering or not get scared about this stuff.
I think the lesson that I took from, for example, John's story, the Aussie Home Loan story, is that having an enemy as a business is a great thing. Yeah. Having something that something to be opposite of, something to fight against, or to offer consumers an alternative option that's better, is almost super important for every business. And it's not as easy as it sounds. And I would actually say, and I would challenge listeners to think, as a business, what am I the alternative of? Who is the enemy of me? Who am I going to be better for? And for CUB, that's something I've always struggled with, because it's who is our enemy? And I would actually say that our enemy is lame-ass, boring, traditional networking. So networking sucks. People think networking, they think ugly, they think it's business cards, and you're in a room, there's 100 people, you don't know who's good, who's crap, who's fucking whatever. It's awkward. You don't like going. I don't know, but my point is that businesses should look for an enemy, and like John did, like Aussie did. I mean, found in the banks, which I just say it's probably, I don't know if that's your enemy or whatnot.
Well, it's weird because it's our enemy, but we need each other.
Yeah,
but
you normally do need each
your
other,
enemy,
because,
right? If Batman doesn't have the Joker, you're up shit creek.
Yeah, for example,
you got nothing to do.
Well, for example, if BNI, let's use BNI and CUB. For BNI's members typically aren't our members. So I'm sure there are some crossovers, but at the whole, they're not.
But it's also forced referral, which is why I don't see it as a direct competitor. But I agree with you in that traditional networking is probably your enemy, because you're competing against the stigma that comes with that as well, which you pointed out is very negative.
It's an ugly stigma. It's like the stigma of sales.
It's the stigma of what I do.
Yeah, or the stigma,
the stigma
of finance, or the stigma of members clubs.
But it's also the stigma. And the point is, every industry or thing has bad eggs. There's really bad mechanics. There's shit hairdressers. There's really rubbish personal trainers that you would think, why'd I give this guy X amount of money per hour? So there's bad in everything. So everything has its enemy. what I guess is so unique in your situation is that you probably have a few minor enemies, but you don't have a big boss at the end of the stage to beat.
I just think that people should look at who am I fighting against,
Right.
and also who am I fighting for.
Just in case you're wondering, no one grows up wanting to be a mortgage broker. It's kind of it doesn't really happen.
Something you fall into.
Yeah,
it's
you
good
fall
money.
exactly. You fall into it, and that can be good and bad for when you look at the industry as a whole. I fell into it because I actually grew up around it, and so my dad's in finance, and he was my business partner up until recently as well. So I grew up around the industry thinking I would never go and do this shit.
Like you often see it, people don't want to follow into the family thing. They want to do their own thing, but
Sure.
eventually you do. Well, you do because it's easier to do that. You've already got the network, you've got the knowledge, you've got a mentor, you kind of got a platform to move into it.
But that
certainly what I would do.
itself can be a barrier because it's
did
easy.
do,
So
sorry.
you got it can feel to a lot of people like you're taking the easy way out, which can be a hard place to put yourself in, and also a very hard place to take yourself out of, because that comes down to what are you trying to do here? Are you going into the family business to go, let's say your family business is, I don't know,
Anything.
mechanic or even, right? Decent one.
Yeah.
Say builder even, right? So you may say your dad was a builder, had a pretty good company, and you decide, well, I finished school, I'll just go and become a chippy and work up under him. And that can feel like a very much I've done nothing, I'm taking the easy way out, I'm always going to be under my dad. What do you then do? And that comes down to your drive. So who are you as a person? What do you actually want to achieve here? Are you using that as a step to you go and get another job and then you never did anything? Are you using that as I want to take it over and take it in this direction, which is where I went?
When that happens, though, you have it's just the personal ego of the individual, because you could say, oh, that person took the easy way,
And people will say
But-
that about you.
100% they will. But and I understand that the feeling of being that person, but also I took the smart way. I took the way that's going to have less earthquakes in the road
Sure.
for me to have to be able to jump over. My way, there's already a set path. I got some bridges built over each of the earthquakes, and I can make it to the other end where you'll want to make it. I can make it there without falling through the cracks of the earth.
But what keeps you there now and keeps you not fucking that up is that drive to not get too comfortable.
There's some family businesses there that have been in business for 30 years.
Sure.
They don't need nor want to grow it because that business produces an income of which sustains a lifestyle that they're happy with. If they take over that business and they're happy with, they just want to maintain that business.
Good on them.
You'd hope that they wouldn't have any emotional pain from that. But if the flip side situation where they wanted to grow the business, but they weren't able to, so there's a gap between their ambition and their achievement. Well, yeah, I can relate to that.
You understand why they bump heads.
That would cause
some conflict.
a lot of pain. And so I guess what are you saying? How does that relate to you? What did you do?
So I guess how we got onto this was that I'm sure there are a lot of people that are in family businesses and either have joined CUB to grow them or joined CUB because the only person the voice they have is a parent, and so they want other voices around, and maybe it's a variety of all these things. The business I started in was under my dad. So I worked for my dad for a couple of years. Again, like we said before, trying to find my feet, figuring out what am I actually going to do.
I did too.
Yep. I started actually going, well, I'm here, I'm talking to clients, I might as well go and get my accreditations that I need and certificates that I need to actually do that. So that's not illegal for me to speak to people. So cool. And then all of a sudden, hey ho, I was a mortgage broker in my dad's business when he has a business partner. And so he said, well, what am I actually doing? I was lucky that he got bought out and went started again and went, what do you want to do? Because I technically actually worked for that guy's business now. So I quit at the same time, went, let's start again. So now my dad's my business partner. And I have that mindset of, all right, I don't work for you, buddy.